My wife texted, "I'm keeping the house in the divorce. You can find somewhere else to live." I replied, "Good luck with that." 2 weeks later, her lawyer called begging to negotiate, after discovering the house property documents. Hello, Reddit I plus here. I am a 36-year-old man, and until recently I was married to a woman named Talia. We had been together a little over 4 years, married for 2 and a bit. Things had been strained for a while, but I still thought we were simply going through growing pains. Apparently, she had a completely different script in mind. It all started on a dull Thursday morning while I was at work. I was halfway through repairing a busted compressor when my phone vibrated in my pocket. I checked it expecting a message from a client. Instead, it was from Talia. Her text read, "I have decided how this will go. I am filing for divorce, and I am keeping the house. You will need to find somewhere else to stay." I froze. Not because of the divorce part. We had been circling that drain for months. I froze because of the house part. The house she was referring to was a 2-story stone place on the outskirts of town. I bought it outright at 31, long before I met her. I used the inheritance my grandmother left me. The title had only my name. The deed had only my name. The mortgage never existed, because I paid in full. Talia never put a single coin into the place. So her message was ridiculous. I stared at the text for a few seconds, wiped dust off my hands, and responded with exactly 3 words. "Good luck with that." She wrote back immediately, as if she had been waiting with her hands hovering over the screen. "My lawyer says I am owed half of everything, including the house. Marriage law protects me." I did not bother answering after that. The compressor was more worth my time. When I got home that evening, she had every legal document she could print scattered across the dining table. She looked up at me like she was being magnanimous. "We should talk about the division of assets," she said calmly. "I only want what is fair." Fair was her favorite word whenever she wanted something that had never belonged to her. I told her there was nothing to discuss. She insisted, "I am being reasonable. I could demand alimony, but I am choosing not to. I only want the house." I did not reply. I simply walked upstairs and called my lawyer, an old college buddy named Calvin. He had a wicked sense of humor and a memory like a steel trap. He asked, "This is the same property you bought in 2019 using your grandmother's estate money?" I told him yes. He laughed. "This will be entertaining." He started preparing the paperwork. A week passed. Talia began walking around the house like a queen, measuring drapes she imagined owning. She brought her sister over one afternoon to choose new colors for the entryway. I caught them talking about what she would do with the backyard once she finally kicked me out. I said nothing. I did not need to. The documents would speak louder than anything I could say. 2 weeks after that first text, I was working late when my phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I did not recognize. I answered anyway. A nervous voice came through. "Hello. Is this Mr. Keenan Alvarez?" "Yes. My name is Gregory. I represent your wife. We need to discuss the house situation." I paused. I expected demands, threats, or accusations. Instead, he sounded like a man calling to apologize for stepping on someone's foot. He continued, "I believe there has been a misunderstanding. I have reviewed the documentation your attorney provided, and it appears the property in question predates your relationship. It was purchased with separate funds and does not qualify as marital property." I said nothing. He sounded more stressed with every word. "Your wife asked us to pursue ownership. However, legally speaking, she is not entitled to the house. We would like to negotiate an amicable settlement. Perhaps we can propose a different arrangement." I asked him why he was calling me instead of my attorney. He sighed. "Your wife would like to avoid court now that we know the full details. She instructed me to reach out personally." I told him politely to call Calvin. Then I hung up. That night, Talia stormed into the living room with fire in her eyes. "Why did you tell them about the inheritance?" she demanded. I looked at her calmly. "Why did you think you could take something that was never yours?" She sputtered something about fairness and emotional investment and the years she spent living there. She said she deserved compensation for staying home more often and helping decorate. I told her decorations do not grant property rights, and that living in a place someone else owns does not magically make it yours. She looked like she had been slapped. For the first time in a year, she did not have a comeback. The divorce went forward. She tried pulling emotional strings, financial strings, guilt strings. None of them worked. Once her lawyer explained the law in plain terms, she realized she had no leverage at all. In the end, not only did she not get the house, but she ended up having to move in with her cousin in a cramped apartment room because she never saved money during the marriage. Meanwhile, I kept my house, my tools, my sanity, and my peace. And the funniest part? When she came back months later to ask if we could talk and maybe work things out, She asked if she could come by the house to discuss it. I replied with the same 3 words I texted her the day she tried to take my home. Good luck with that. You see, after Talia lost her dream of taking the house, she entered a new phase I call the manipulation tour. It lasted nearly 6 months and came in several dramatic stages. Each stage was more desperate than the last, and each one failed because the law was not on her side, and I was fully done. Stage 1. The emotional flood. 2 weeks after her lawyer gave up, Talia started sending long, winding texts late at night. They looked like diary entries written in the dark with shaky hands. She claimed she felt abandoned. She said she never believed I would actually fight her. She wanted to talk about the memories we shared, the plans we once dreamed about, the trips we never took. She tried to paint herself as the victim of a man who refused to negotiate. She asked how I could live in the house, knowing she was somewhere else, feeling heartbroken. I responded once, just once, and only to say, "Please send any communication through your attorney." That was it. After that, silence. She kept messaging anyway, but I stopped replying completely. Calvin even told me to mute her number and archive everything. Best advice ever. Stage 2. The friend ambush. Since texting did not work, she switched tactics. Suddenly, friends I had not heard from in years began messaging me. People who barely remembered my birthday were suddenly telling me I should be kinder to her. One mutual acquaintance called and said Talia was distraught. She apparently told them I had kicked her out, refused to negotiate anything, and left her with nothing but a suitcase and shattered dreams. I calmly explained the truth. Within 2 minutes, the tone of the conversation changed. The acquaintance sighed and said, "All right, I see what is happening." By the time I was done updating everyone, Talia had burned through her entire social circle. People were tired of being used as emotional delivery pigeons. Stage 3. The venting storm. Then came the social media venting. Talia wrote posts about betrayal, injustice, and heartbreak. The weird part was she never mentioned my name. Instead, she described a controlling husband who robbed her of a home she had helped build. Her cousin tagged her in a comment asking, "Which home? You never owned one." That comment stayed up for 10 minutes before it vanished. Her little online tantrums did not have the reaction she wanted. Most people ignored them. The few who commented asked questions she could not answer without exposing herself. Eventually, she deleted everything. Stage 4. The court gambit. This was the most ridiculous stage of all. Despite her lawyer explaining everything clearly, she still attempted one last dramatic move. She filed a petition claiming she had contributed to the house through labor and emotional investment. She listed tasks like watering plants, painting a shelf, and choosing colors for throw pillows as evidence that she helped maintain the property. Her lawyer did not even sound surprised when he called Calvin. He apologized before presenting the petition. You could hear the exhaustion in his voice. Calvin read the document and burst into laughter. His exact words were, "She listed interior decorating as marital property contribution. Judges do not care about throw pillows." The hearing lasted less than 15 minutes. The judge skimmed the papers, looked at both lawyers, and said the house was clearly separate property purchased before the marriage with inherited funds. He dismissed the claim without even blinking. Talia looked stunned. She whispered something to her lawyer, who shook his head slowly like a man who had run out of patience. After the hearing, she chased after me in the parking lot. She grabbed at my sleeve and said, "You are doing this to punish me. You know I deserve a fresh start." I stepped back and told her calmly, "Your fresh start does not come from something you never owned." She tried crying. She tried yelling. She tried bargaining. She even tried saying she could still be the woman I needed if I just gave her some time. I walked away and got in my truck. Stage 5. The final attempt. 3 months later, after everything had blown up around her, she showed up at my front gate uninvited. She held a folder of papers and a bag of personal items she had left behind. She said, "I have been thinking a lot. I realize we made mistakes. Maybe we could talk again. Maybe we could fix things. We could start over." There was a silence between us. The air felt heavy, but not with sadness. It felt like standing at the end of a storm watching the last cloud fade. I told her calmly, "Please contact my attorney if you need anything related to the divorce. That is all I have to say." She stood there staring at the house she had once tried to claim as hers. Her eyes took it in like a prize she missed by a mile. She waited for me to soften. I did not. Eventually, she turned around and walked away, and that was it. The manipulation failed. The venting failed. The court stunt failed. Every plan she launched crashed before it ever had a chance to fly. I kept the house my grandmother helped me buy, the peace I had lost, and the life I rebuilt afterward. Talia kept the consequences of her own choices.